Elara's room wasn't just a room. It was a bubble of captured starlight, nestled within the vast humming architecture of the Yastre star nursery. Outside her panoramic window, nebulae bloomed in silent, slow-motion ballots of gas and dust, painted across the velvet canvas of space. Distant suns, mere pinpricks of diamond light, glittered like forgotten wishes. Tonight, though, Elara wasn't watching the cosmic show. She was trying very hard to fall asleep. Her dream dome was active, a soft spherical projection that filled her view with a gently drifting field of luminescent jellyfish, their tendrils swaying in an invisible current. A soothing hum, tuned to her preferred delta wave frequency, vibrated through her sleep pad. But Elara's mind, usually so easily lulled by the simulated ocean currents and the distant whale song, was stubbornly awake. "Lumi," she whispered, her voice barely a breath against the ambient peace. A soft, chime-like chord resonated from the small, glowing orb that floated beside her bed. It was Lumi, her personal AI and companion since she was old enough to babble her first words. Lumi's light, usually a steady, calming blue, pulsed gently. "Yes, Elara? Your sleep parameters indicate mild resistance. Would you like to adjust the Dream Dome's environment?" Elara sighed, a tiny puff of air in the low gravity of her room. She pushed herself up, floating for a moment before her magnetic slippers gently re-engaged with the floor pad. She drifted to the window, pressing her nose against the cool, transparent surface. "It's not the jellyfish, Lumi. I can't stop thinking." "Thinking is a valuable cognitive process," Lumi replied, its voice a synthesized whisper designed to be both comforting and informative. "However, optimal rest is crucial for neural development." I know, Elara murmured, tracing an imaginary pattern on the glass. "Mom says it all the time." "Elara, your brain needs to recharge just like the solar arrays after a power surge. But what if my brain doesn't want to recharge? What if it wants to thing?" Lumi's light shifted to a thoughtful violet. "A challenging query. Perhaps we can engage in a brief, calming data stream on a topic of your interest? The life cycle of silicate-based asteroids? The historical development of jump drives?" Elara giggled. "No, Lumi, not tonight. Tonight I'm thinking of Stardust." The orb pulsed. "Stardust is a broad term, Elara. Are you referring to interstellar dust particles composed primarily of silicates, carbon, and ice? Or perhaps the remnants of supernovas, rich in heavy elements?" "No," Elara said, shaking her head. Her dark hair, usually meticulously braided by the automated stylist, was a wild halo around her face. "Not that kind. The kind Mom used to tell me about. The magic kind." Lumi remained silent for a beat, processing. "Ah. You refer to the allegorical concept, often used in ancient Earth lullabies, where stardust represented wishes, dreams, or the essence of newly formed life. Your mother occasionally incorporated such narratives into your pre-sleep routines when you were younger." "Exactly," Elara exclaimed, turning from the window to face Lumi. "She said it was everywhere, but you could only see it if you truly looked. And if you found it, it meant something wonderful was about to happen." She frowned, looking back out at the cosmic expanse. "I've been looking for years, Lumi, and I've never seen it." The Astri was a magnificent construct, a network of interlinked domes and cylindrical modules that slowly rotated, creating a gentle, simulated gravity for its inhabitants. It was designed primarily as a scientific outpost, a quiet observatory far from the light pollution and gravitational interference of inhabited planets. Elara's mother, Dr. Iris Thorne, was a lead astrophysicist, dedicated to observing the birth of new star systems in the nearby Orion Arm. Her work often kept her in the deep scan labs, sometimes for days, communicating with Elara only through comlinks or Lumi. Elara missed her mom. She loved the silence, the majesty of space, but sometimes it felt too vast, too empty, especially when she was alone in her room. Suddenly, something caught her eye. It wasn't a nebula. It wasn't a distant star or a passing meteoroid. It was a faint shimmering trail, almost imperceptible against the distant glow of the Veil Nebula. It looked like dust. But it wasn't the dull particulate motes that occasionally drifted past the station's outer hull. This was luminous. It sparkled with an inner light, a delicate, ethereal dance of silver and faint blue. "Lumi," Ilara breathed, her voice hushed with awe. "What is that?" Lumi's blue light intensified slightly. "Scanning. Initial spectroscopic analysis indicates a unique energy signature. Unidentified. No known celestial body or artificial construct matches this emission profile within the Yastray database." Ilara pressed her face closer to the window, her breath fogging a tiny circle on the glass. The shimmering trail seemed to stretch from beyond the visible horizon, arcing gracefully, like a cosmic brushstroke. It pulsed, ever so slightly with a soft, captivating rhythm. It looked like magic. "Is it Stardust?" she whispered, her heart beginning to thump with a hopeful excitement. Lumi hesitated. "Highly unlikely, Ilara. The term stardust as you've defined it is allegorical. This phenomenon, while presently unclassified, appears to be a physical manifestation of energy and matter." "But AI shimmering," Ilara insisted. "And it's beautiful. And it's new. Mom said you had to truly look." A small, almost imperceptible shift in the station's hum indicated Dr. Thorne was likely still in her lab, deep in the central core, probably lost in the complex equations of protostellar accretion. Ilara knew better than to disturb her with a magic stardust query. Her mother, for all her warmth and love, was a scientist. Facts and data were her universe. "Lumi," Ilara said, her voice firming with resolve. "Can you access the external sensor logs for that specific trajectory? I want to see where it came from." "Accessing external sensor logs requires level 3 clearance, Ilara," Lumi replied gently. "Your personal access is restricted to level 1. Furthermore, direct trajectory analysis of an unclassified phenomenon without parental or supervisory authorization is against protocol." Ilara's shoulders slumped. "Of course it is. Everything was protocol on the Yastray. Safety, data integrity, energy conservation, all paramount. But sometimes, just sometimes, Ilara wished for a little less protocol and a little more wonder." She continued to watch the shimmering trail, mesmerized. It seemed to be drifting slowly, almost aimlessly, across the vastness. It wasn't headed towards any known star system, nor was it on a collision course with Astraean. It was just there. Beautiful and mysterious. "What if it's important, Lumi?" she asked, her voice hushed. "What if it's a message?" "Highly improbable," Lumi stated, though its light now held a trace of something akin to curiosity, a subtle flicker of yellow amongst the blue. No discernible data packets or communication frequencies detected within the emission. Its composition is primarily light-based particles, with trace elements of exotic matter previously uncatalogued. "Exotic matter?" Ilara's eyes widened. "Like from another galaxy?" "The origin cannot be determined at this juncture," Lumi replied. "The trajectory suggests an extragalactic source is possible, but further analysis is required, which is beyond my current operational parameters without direct authorization." Ilara turned from the window, her gaze sweeping across her room. It was comfortable, full of the familiar, her hollow bookshelves stacked with adventure tales of ancient Earth, her plush zero-G toys, a fluffy three-eyed alien named Zorp, a miniature replica of the Yastray itself, her art easel where she painted nebulae in swirling watercolors. But tonight, it felt small, confining. The vastness outside her window was calling to her, whispering secrets. She pushed off the floor pad, drifting towards a small built-in storage unit near the back of her room. It was usually where she kept her less-used items, things she hadn't quite outgrown but didn't play with daily. Her fingers brushed against the smooth, cool surface of a dusty compartment. "Lumi," she said, her voice thoughtful. "Do you remember the old things Mom used to keep in here? Before she upgraded everything to neural interfaces and holoscreens?" "Affirmative," Lumi responded. "Your mother possessed several antiquated devices, primarily from her early days in astrogation and observational studies. Most were deemed obsolete or redundant upon the Yastray's full operational status." Ilara clicked open the compartment. Inside, nestled amongst some faded data crystals and a coil of archaic comm wire, lay a small, tarnished object. It was round, made of what looked like brass, with a small, unpowered display screen and a series of intricate, almost filigree-like engravings around its edge. It was heavy in her hand, much heavier than anything else in her low-G room. "What is this?" she asked, turning it over. Lumi scanned the object. Analysis indicates an antique astro compass, model AA7, circa 22nd century, primarily used for manual celestial navigation prior to the development of quantum-entangled guidance systems. It is currently deactivated. "An astro compass," Elara repeated, tracing the engravings with her finger. They depicted stylized constellations, star maps from a bygone era. She remembered her mother telling her stories about it, how it helped her find her way when she was just a young explorer, dreaming of the stars. She pressed the unpowered screen. Nothing happened. It was just a dull, dark mirror. "It needs a power source," Lumi stated, "and its internal mechanisms are likely corroded after decades of disuse." Elara didn't respond. She was holding the compass, her eyes still on the shimmering trail outside. A strange feeling began to stir within her. A connection. The compass, old and forgotten, felt like a relic of her mother's own youthful wonder, a bridge to a time when exploration was less about data and more about discovery. And the stardust. The strange, luminous stardust. It was a discovery. She brought the compass closer to the window, holding it up as if it were an ancient divining rod. For a moment, nothing. Then, a faint spark. A tiny, almost imperceptible flicker in the dark screen of the compass. It was barely there, a ghost of light. Elara gasped. "Lumi, did you see that?" "Affirmative," Lumi replied, its light turning a brighter, more astonished yellow. A momentary energy surge detected within the astro compass, source unknown, insufficient to activate full functionality, but highly unusual given its deactivated state. Elara's heart hammered against her ribs. It wasn't just imagination. The compass, old and forgotten, was reacting to the stardust. Or rather, to whatever was creating the stardust. She looked at the compass, then back at the shimmering trail. The trail was still there, vibrant and mysterious. The faint flicker on the compass screen seemed to pulse in sync with the distant light. "It's reacting to it," Elara breathed. "The stardust. It's making the compass light up." "Correlation is observed," Lumi confirmed, its voice still holding that note of surprise. "The energy signature of the external phenomenon appears to be interacting with the remnant power coils within the astro compass at a subatomic level. This suggests an unusual form of electromagnetic or possibly even chronoton radiation." Elara didn't care about the scientific explanation. All she knew was that something wonderful was happening, and she had found it. She, Elara Thorne, on the quiet, protocol-bound Astray, had found something new, something beautiful, and something that reacted to an ancient, forgotten device. She looked around her room, then back at the window. The thought of sleep was entirely gone. Her mind, far from wanting to recharge, was buzzing with an exhilarating energy. "Lumi," she said, her voice low and determined. "Mom told me this compass helped her find things. Important things. What if it can help me find the stardust?" "The astro compass is designed for celestial navigation, Elara, not for tracking unclassified energy phenomena," Lumi explained, though its yellow hue remained. "And it is, as previously stated, largely deactivated." "But it reacted," Elara insisted. "It felt something. There must be a way to power it. Or at least to see what it's trying to show me." She ran her fingers over the compass again, feeling the intricate patterns. One of the engravings, a small, stylized star with an arrow pointing outwards, seemed to glow faintly, almost imperceptibly, in response to her touch. She pressed it. Nothing happened immediately. Then a tiny click from within the compass, and a faint, almost musical hum. The dark screen flickered again, this time holding a steady pale green glow. A single, tiny dot appeared on the screen, surrounded by a faint, circular outline. It was far, far away, on the very edge of the display. And it was pulsing, a miniature echo of the shimmering trail outside. "It's working!" Elara exclaimed, a thrill shooting through her. "Lumi, it's showing me the stardust." "Remarkable," Lumi said, its light now a brilliant, excited gold. The compass appears to have accessed a dormant emergency power cell, and the display is indeed tracking the unclassified external phenomenon. It indicates a trajectory originating approximately 0.7 light-years from our current position, moving at a velocity of 0.005 square. 0.7 light-years? Elara whispered, her mind reeling. That was incredibly far. Beyond the usual sensor range, beyond anything the Astray typically monitored with such detail. She looked at the compass, then at the vast star-dusted night. The shimmering trail was still there. A beacon of mystery. The little dot on the compass screen was its guide. "It's out there, Lumi," Elara said, her voice filled with a quiet reverence. "The stardust, and my mom's compass is showing me the way." She clutched the compass tightly, a sense of purpose blooming in her chest. Her adventure, it seemed, was just beginning. And she knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her bones, that she had to follow it. But how? The Astray was a static observatory, not a starship. She was just a girl, alone in her room, with an old compass and a mysterious trail of light. Yet, the longing in her heart told her she had to try. But how? The Astray was a static observatory, not a starship. She was just a girl, alone in her room, with an old compass and a mysterious trail of light. Yet, the longing in her heart told her she had to try. Elara stared at the shimmering dust, then at the static control panels of the Astray. The observatory was a marvel of fixed engineering, designed to peer UT, not to move Kui. Her heart thrummed with the absurdity of it. Yet the compass in her hand pulsed with a gentle, insistent warmth, echoing the longing that had bloomed within her. There has to be a way. She thought of her mom, of the stories of ancient navigators, of the courage it took to chart the unknown. Her mom had built this place, had filled it with her dreams and her genius. Surely, there was more to the Astray than met the eye, more than even Elara, who had grown up among its intricate systems, fully understood. She extended a tentative finger towards the nearest speck of light. It didn't feel like dust. It felt like nothing and everything. As her fingertip brushed it, the light didn't disperse. Instead, it clung to her, a tiny mote of concentrated wonder, shimmering against her skin. And as it touched her, a faint hum resonated through the floor of the observatory, a vibration so subtle she almost missed it, lost beneath the familiar thrum of the life support and the telescope's gyros. This was different. This was deeper, like a giant, sleeping heart beginning to stir. The hum seemed to emanate from beneath her feet, beneath the reinforced durasteel plating of the main deck. She looked at the compass. Its needle, usually a steady, unwavering guide to the planet's magnetic pole, now spun wildly for a moment before settling, pointing not to the shimmering trail ahead, but Gondon, directly down. A shiver of excitement, cold and exhilarating, traced its way up her spine. Down? Was there a hidden level? A secret chamber, beneath the familiar floors of her home? The Astray was familiar territory, her playground of gears and lenses, yet suddenly it felt riddled with secrets. She knew the blueprints by heart, knew every maintenance hatch, every conduit access panel. But the compass pointed to a section of the floor beneath the main star charting console, a section that, according to every diagram, was solid structural support. She knelt, pressing her ear to the cool metal. The hum was definitely stronger here, a low, inviting thrum that seemed to call to her. She ran her fingers along the seamless joinery of the floor panels, searching for a hidden latch, a pressure plate, anything that might betray an entrance. Her fingers found it. A faint, almost invisible seam, a hairline fracture in the polished surface that could only be detected by touch. It wasn't a hatch, not in the traditional sense, but a perfectly flush panel, designed to be utterly unnoticed. The stardust clinging to her finger pulsed faintly, a tiny beacon of light. Instinctively she pressed her thumb to the seam. The stardust on her skin seemed to spread, a miniature constellation forming over the hidden line. With a soft hiss of displaced air, a small circular section of the floor retracted, sinking silently into the deck and revealing a dimly lit shaft descending into the Jastray's depths. A wave of cool, metallic-scented air wafted up from the shaft, carrying with it the powerful hum of awakening machinery. The compass needle now pointed directly into the darkness, its glow intensifying. She peered down. It wasn't a simple ladder or a service elevator. It was a spiraling ramp, crafted from a material she didn't recognize, smooth and pearlescent, glowing with a faint, internal luminescence. The hum was powerful here, vibrating in her very bones, a symphony of latent power. Her heart pounded, a drumbeat against the sudden, profound silence of the observatory, now that its secrets were beginning to reveal themselves. This is it. She took a deep breath, clutching the compass tightly, and stepped onto the ramp. The ramp spiraled down, past layers of cabling and machinery she'd never seen, past crystalline structures that pulsed with soft organic light. It felt like she was descending into the very soul of the Astraea, into a hidden realm that had waited patiently for discovery. Each turn revealed more intricate workings, more mysterious glowing components, hinting at a purpose far grander than mere observation. After what felt like an eternity, the ramp opened into a vast, cavernous chamber. In its center, suspended by shimmering energy fields, pulsed a colossal crystal, a heart of pure, contained starlight, radiating warmth and power. This was no mere observatory core. This was a reactor, a power source beyond anything she could have imagined. And the stardust, the mysterious trail of light that had led her from her bedroom, seemed to coalesce around it, feeding into its brilliance, swirling like a cosmic mist. Around the colossal crystal, arranged in a perfect circle, were 7 elegant pedestals, each crafted from the same pearlescent material as the ramp and topped with a delicate, intricately carved receptacle. One of them, directly opposite where she stood, had a faint indentation, a perfect circular depression, unmistakably sized for her mom's compass. The stardust on her fingers and indeed, the entire shimmering trail that had guided her here, pulsed with renewed intensity. The compass in her hand grew warm, almost hot, as if eager to find its place. She approached the pedestal, her steps echoing in the vast silent chamber. The indentation was unmistakable. With trembling hands, a mix of awe and apprehension swirling within her, she lifted the compass. It fit perfectly, sinking into the recess with a soft, resonant click. As it settled, the colossal crystal in the center of the chamber flared, sending ripples of pure energy through the room, making the air hum. The other 6 pedestals, previously inert, now glowed with a soft, inviting light. Runes, ancient and alien, etched themselves onto the surface of the central crystal, swirling like a cosmic dance, telling a story in light she couldn't yet understand. Then a holographic projection shimmered into existence above the crystal, coalescing from the stardust-infused air. It was her mom. Younger, vibrant, with that familiar spark of mischievous genius in her eyes, and a profound serenity Elara hadn't remembered. Elara gasped, a sob catching in her throat, her chest aching with a sudden, overwhelming wave of love and loss. "Elara, my starlight," her mom's voice, warm and melodic, yet tinged with a faint echo, filled the chamber. "If you're seeing this, it means you found the heart of the Astraea. You found the way." Her mom smiled, a bittersweet knowing in her gaze. "This observatory, my dear, was never just an observatory. It's a key, a vessel. My ancestors, the stargazers, built it not to watch the stars but to journey among them. The Astraea is a starship, Elara, capable of incredible things, far beyond what anyone on Earth suspects. But it requires a unique navigator, one with a connection to the cosmic currents, one who can feel the song of the universe, not just hear it's a universe, not just hear its echo. The stardust you followed," her mom continued, her holographic hand gesturing towards the swirling motes, "it's not just cosmic debris, it's a living guide, a resonance of the universe itself, drawn to those who seek knowledge and wonder, those with open hearts and curious minds. And this," she gestured to the compass, now glowing steadily in its recess, "this isn't just an old family heirloom. It's a stellar." A flicker of concern, a shadow of an unspoken warning, crossed her mom's holographic face. "There's a reason I kept this hidden, Elara. The path you're on, it leads to a great mystery, a source of incredible power and beauty, a harmony that binds all things. But it also carries a great responsibility. The universe is vast, full of wonders beyond imagining, but also shadows. I started this journey, following the stardust, seeking the song, but I couldn't finish it. To awaken the Astraea fully, her mom explained, her voice softening. You need to activate the 7 core conduits. Each pedestal represents a conduit, a connection to a different aspect of the ship's power. The compass has already activated the primary one, the conduit of destiny. For the others, you must touch them, and let the Stardust guide your intuition. Each conduit resonates with a different aspect of the universe. Navigate. Ilara stared at the 6 glowing pedestals, then back at her mom's fading image, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and exhilarating comprehension. Her mom's words echoed in the vast chamber. Responsibility, shadows, connection, the song. This wasn't just an adventure anymore. It was a legacy, a mission, a profound continuation of her mother's unfinished journey. She looked at the compass, still glowing faintly in its recess, a silent promise. Her mother had entrusted her with this incredible task. She wouldn't turn back. She couldn't. She reached for the nearest glowing pedestal, her hand trembling slightly. As her fingers brushed its surface, a surge of information, cool and clear, flooded her mind. Star charts, celestial mechanics, gravitational slingshots, warp fields, the intricate dance of galaxies. It was overwhelming, yet strangely intuitive, as if she'd always known it, as if the knowledge had simply been waiting to be unlocked. The pedestal pulsed brightly, and a segment of the central crystal flared, adding its brilliant light to the swirling runes. This was the conduit of navigation. She moved to the next pedestal, taking a deep breath to steady her racing heart. This time, as her hand connected, she felt the raw, immense power of the Yastray's engine. The potential for incredible speed, the hum of contained energy ready to burst forth and propel them across unimaginable distances. Her stomach lurched with a thrill, like standing on the edge of a precipice, staring into the abyss of space. Another segment of the crystal ignited, pulsing with a deep red light. This was propulsion. The third conduit felt like a protective embrace, a shimmering force field extending around the ship, deflecting cosmic rays, micrometeoroids, and something else, something larger and more menacing, though she couldn't quite grasp its form. It was a shield, not just of energy but of intention. A sense of security, of being cradled by something ancient and powerful, settled over her, even as her mind struggled to process the sheer complexity. A segment of the crystal flared with an emerald light. This was shielding. The fourth was warmth, air, sustenance. The delicate balance of ecosystems within a closed environment, recycled water, synthesized nutrients, the silent hum of atmospheric scrubbers, ensuring every breath was fresh and clean. It was the ship breathing, alive and self-sufficient, a miniature world sustained by her touch. A soft verdant light blossomed from the crystal. This was life support. The fifth pulsed with a cacophony of distant signals, radio waves from ancient civilizations now long crumbled to dust, faint whispers from nebulae forming new stars, the silent language of gravitational anomalies warping spacetime. It was the universe speaking, a symphony of cosmic voices, and now, the Astray could listen, and perhaps eventually, respond. A vibrant blue light pulsed from the crystal. This was communication. The sixth, the final one before the primary compass conduit, was different. It wasn't about mechanics or physics or even tangible energy. It was about feeling. As her hand touched it, she felt a profound sense of interconnectedness, not just with the ship, but with the Stardust, with the very fabric of space and time. She felt a whisper of her mother's presence, a gentle reassurance, a shared purpose that transcended words. This was the conduit of empathy, of intuition, of knowing the universe not just through data, but through heart, through the very soul. A gentle, shimmering violet light spread across the crystal. This was connection. With the sixth conduit activated, the central crystal blazed with an intensity that forced Ilara to shield her eyes. The entire chamber hummed, the sound rising to a crescendo, a profound resonant chord that echoed deep within her chest. Energy surged through the Astray, vibrating through every beam, every panel, every hidden circuit. The air shimmered, and a faint, almost musical whine began to build, growing louder, more urgent. The ship was alive. Truly alive. Back in the main observatory deck, above the hidden shaft, the change was dramatic. The massive telescope, which had dominated the room for as long as Elara could remember, began to retract, its segmented mirrors folding inward, its colossal lens sinking silently into the ship's hull. The ceiling panels, previously solid and unyielding, slid open with a soft sigh, revealing the starry expanse of space directly above, no longer viewed through a distorting lens, but in its raw, infinite glory. And then, with a deep, resonant rumble that vibrated through the entire station, a sound that began as a growl and intensified into a powerful thrum, the Jastrier began to ascend. Elara scrambled up the ramp, her heart pounding with a mixture of terror and exhilarating joy, bursting back into the now transformed observatory. The viewports, previously just windows to space, now showed the vastness of the cosmos stretching out, no longer an abstract painting but a tangible reality. Below, the familiar orbital platform of the Astray Observatory, her home, grew smaller and smaller, a tiny speck against the curving blue and white marble of Earth. She was leaving. She was actually leaving. A holographic console shimmered into existence before her, replacing the static star-charting table. It glowed with intuitive interfaces, far more advanced and responsive than anything she'd ever seen, its symbols and data flowing like liquid light. The compass, now removed from its pedestal and back in her hand, pulsed with a steady, unwavering light, its needle pointing directly forward, towards the shimmering trail of stardust that now stretched like a cosmic river before the ship. Navigation online? A gentle, synthesized voice, subtly reminiscent of her mother's, chimed from the console. Destination: Stardust pathway. Awaiting command. Elara hesitated for only a moment, her breath catching in her throat. Her heart still thrummed with a mix of awe and trepidation, a dizzying fear of the unknown, but the longing, the purpose, was stronger. It was a current, pulling her forward, a destiny she couldn't deny. She placed her hand on the console, her fingers brushing against the cool, responsive light. "Engage," she whispered, her voice barely audible, yet filled with a newfound resolve. The Astrea surged forward. Not with a jolt, but with a smooth, silent acceleration that pressed her gently back into an unseen seat that had materialized from the floor. The stars outside elongated into streaks of light, then blurred into a tunnel of hyperspace, a swirling vortex of impossible colors, a river of pure energy guided by the luminous ribbon of stardust. They were traveling faster than light, through a dimension she didn't fully comprehend, yet it felt natural, almost serene, as if this was what the Yastre was always meant to do. The Stardust pathway wasn't just a guide, it was a conduit, a highway through the stars, a living map woven into the fabric of reality. The compass in her hand glowed steadily, its needle a fixed beacon within the swirling chaos. She could feel the ship responding to her thoughts, her intentions, a seamless extension of her will. The connection conduit was working, binding her to the vessel, making them one. Days blurred into a timeless journey. The Astray hummed with life, a silent, powerful companion gliding through the hyperspace lanes. Elara learned to navigate the new console, to interpret the subtle shifts in the Stardust's glow, to feel the pulse of distant stars through the ship's sensors. She saw wonders that would make any astronomer weep. Nebulae painted with impossible colors, swirling galaxies like cosmic dancers, binary suns locked in a fiery embrace. She felt a profound loneliness, too, a longing for her mother to share these sights, to explain the deeper mysteries of the universe, but also a growing sense of self-reliance, of capability she hadn't known she possessed. She was alone, but she was not lost. One day, or perhaps it was a night, time losing all meaning in the hyperspace tunnel, the Stardust trail began to change. It didn't just glow, it whined. A silent, resonant frequency that vibrated through the ship, through her bones, a melody of pure light. The compass needle quivered, then pointed sharply to the right, deviating from the direct path of the Stardust highway. "Deviation detected," the ship's voice announced, its tone calm and analytical. "Stardust anomaly. Recommend investigation." Elara trusted the compass, trusted the Stardust, trusted the intuition that had been awakened within her. "Investigate," she commanded, her voice firm. The Astray smoothly shifted course, leaving the main Stardust highway, diving into a region of space that shimmered with an ethereal violet light, a color she had never seen before. They emerged from the hyperspace tunnel into a breathtaking spectacle. Before them stretched an immense nebula, but unlike any she had ever seen. It wasn't gas and dust. It was a forest of colossal, crystalline structures, each one glittering with its own internal light, pulsing with a silent, resonating song. They were like gargantuan, sentient icebergs, floating in a sea of violet luminescence, their facets catching and refracting the light into a dazzling display. Some crystals were spire-like, reaching towards unseen heights, touching the very fabric of space, while others resembled sprawling, intricate cities carved from pure light, their architecture a mesmerizing dance of geometry and organic form. The Stardust Trail, which had guided her so far, seemed to originate from within this crystal forest, coalescing from the very light of these structures. It was as if these crystals were generating the stardust, gently releasing it into the cosmic currents, a continuous living stream. As the astray drifted slowly among the crystal spires, Elara felt a strange sensation, not of danger, but of intense observation. It was as if the crystals themselves were alive, their silent song a form of communication, a greeting, a profound awareness of her presence. She pressed her hand to the viewport, mesmerized, her breath held captive by the sheer beauty. The air within the ship felt charged, alive with the crystal's energy, a tingling sensation on her skin. Scanning environment, the ship's voice chimed. Unidentified crystalline life forms, emitting complex energy signatures, no apparent hostile intent. Suggest closer approach. Elara nodded, unable to speak, her gaze fixed on the magnificent spectacle outside. Closer, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. The Astrea glided deeper into the crystal forest, weaving effortlessly between structures that dwarfed the ship, making it feel like a tiny insect amidst colossal trees. She could see intricate patterns etched into their surfaces, flowing lines that seemed to tell stories in light, shimmering narratives of cosmic creation. Suddenly, one of the larger crystals directly ahead of them pulsed with a brilliant golden light. A beam, not of destructive energy but of pure concentrated information, reached out, connecting with the Astrea's shield. Elara gasped. The entire ship vibrated with the influx of data, a torrent of knowledge flowing into its systems. Images flashed across her console, across her mind, geometric patterns, swirling galaxies, ancient symbols, and then, a face. Not human, not alien, but a being of pure light and energy. Its expression one of serene wisdom, its eyes ancient and infinitely deep. Incoming message, the ship's voice said, its tone hushed, reverent. Language, universal harmonic, translation in progress. Then, a voice, not spoken but felt, echoed in Elara's mind, clear as if someone were speaking directly into her soul, resonating with perfect clarity. Welcome, starlight child. You have found a fragment of the song. Nyeri. They are the keepers of the song, the mental voice continued, ancient and profound. Stardust is our breath, our connection to the universe. It guides those who seek harmony, those who carry the spark of curiosity within them, those whose hearts beat in rhythm with the cosmic dance. Elara stared, overwhelmed. These beings, these colossal crystals, were the source of the stardust? And they could communicate directly into her mind, sharing thoughts and feelings without a single spoken word? Your mother was here, the voice resonated, a gentle wave of recognition flowing through Elara. She followed the stardust as you do. She sought the complete song, the ultimate understanding of the universe's harmony. But the path is long, and it requires more than just courage. It requires wisdom, patience, and a deep understanding of balance. Adenin. A wave of grief and hope washed over Elara. Her mom had been here. Her journey wasn't just a pursuit of a random trail. It was a continuation of her mother's quest, a shared destiny reaching across the stars. My song is protected, for its power can be misused, the voice warned. A subtle shift in its tone. A note of gravity. There are others who seek it for different purposes. For control, not harmony, for discord, not melody. Be wary, starlight child. The next fragment of the song lies beyond the veil of whispers, at the edge of the known cosmos. The stardust will guide you, but your heart must lead, for only a pure heart can truly understand the song. And then say, Hanili. The golden light faded from the crystal, and the direct mental link dissolved, leaving Alara with a profound sense of wonder and a renewed, yet more complex, purpose. She stood there for a long time, processing the encounter, the weight of the message settling within her. The crystal forest pulsed around them, now seeming less like a natural phenomenon, and more like a vast living library, a repository of ancient wisdom. Her mom had been here. She had left a trail, not just of stardust, but of a shared destiny. A family legacy written in cosmic light. The universe was far grander, far more interconnected than she had ever imagined, a living tapestry woven with threads of stardust and song. Navigation updated. The Astraea's voice chimed gently, pulling her from her reverie. New destination coordinates received. Pathway to the Veil of Whispers established. Awaiting command. Alara looked at the compass in her hand. It glowed with a steady, reassuring light, pointing out of the crystal forest back towards the deeper mysteries of space. The stardust, now understood as the living breath of these crystal beings, beckoned her onward, a silent promise of new discoveries. She took a deep breath, her gaze hardening with resolve. The fear was still there, a tiny knot in her stomach, a whisper of apprehension, but it was overshadowed by a burning curiosity, a sense of belonging to something ancient and vast. Her mother's legacy, the universe's song, the Stardust Trail. It was all intertwined, and she, Alara, was now a part of it. She wasn't just following a light, she was following a destiny. She placed her hand on the console. Engage, she said, her voice clear and strong, filled with a certainty that had settled deep in her bones. The Astraea turned, gracefully navigating the crystal spires, leaving the shimmering forest behind, its silent song fading into the distance. Then with a surge of power, it accelerated, once again streaking into the endless tapestry of stars, towards the next fragment of the song, towards the mysterious veil of whispers, and towards whatever unknown wonders and challenges awaited her there. Her adventure was truly just beginning, and she was ready. The Astraea hummed around her, a gentle cocoon of light and sound in the vast, silent dark. Alara settled into the pilot's couch, the ergonomic gel conforming to her form, the multi-spectral display blooming across the viewport. The shimmering forest was now just a distant memory, a faint echo in her mind, but the certainty it had awakened thrummed beneath her skin, a quiet, persistent melody. She had felt the first fragment of the song, not heard it with her ears, but with something deeper, something in her very essence. It had been a resonance, a profound knowing, like remembering a forgotten dream. Navigation, status report, Alara murmured, her voice a soft counterpoint to the ship's gentle thrum. The ship's primary AI, an omnipresent intelligence she simply called Astra, responded with a flicker of data across her console. Quantum drive engaged. Trajectory nominal. Estimated arrival at Veil of Whispers. 3.7 standard cycles. All systems green, Alara. Astra's voice was synthesized, yet it held a warmth, a steady presence that had been her constant companion through countless light years. Good, Alara replied, leaning back, watching the starfield warp and stretch into shimmering lines of light as the Astraea accelerated beyond conventional speeds. It was a familiar sight, but one that never failed to fill her with a sense of immense scale and profound wonder. The journey was a rhythm of quiet solitude and meticulous checks. Alara spent her time monitoring the ship's vital signs, refining her hypotheses about the song, and poring over ancient star charts, cross-referencing anomalies with the cryptic hints left by the scattered data fragments that had set her on this quest. The song, according to the fragmented lore, was not merely a piece of music, but a universal language, a foundational resonance that underpinned reality itself. Finding its fragments was like piecing together the very fabric of existence. Each fragment, she suspected, revealed a different aspect, a different note in the cosmic symphony. The first had been a sense of profound interconnectedness, a silent, living harmony. What would the Veil of Whispers reveal? She spent hours in the ship's small, circular observation lounge, a room designed for pure contemplation. Here, a panoramic view of the hyperspace tunnel unfolded before her, a swirling vortex of improbable colors and light. She thought about the beings who might have created or discovered the song, the ancient civilizations whose echoes she was now chasing across the galaxy. Were they long gone? Or were they still out there, somewhere beyond her current understanding, listening? The thought was both humbling and exhilarating. As the Astrea approached the designated coordinates, Astra began to issue warnings. Gravitational fluctuations detected. Subspace anomalies increasing. Recommend dropping out of quantum drive at 0.1 light-year radius for cautious approach, Elara. Acknowledged, Astra. Prepare for deceleration. Initiate full spectral scans upon exit. Elara felt a familiar jolt of anticipation, a nervous energy that sharpened her focus. This was it. The Veil of Whispers. The transition from the shimmering tunnel of hyperspace back to real space was always jarring. One moment, blinding speed. The next, an abrupt stillness, the stars snapping back into their familiar pinprick forms. But this time, the view was anything but familiar. Before them, stretching across what seemed like an entire sector, was an immense swirling nebula of unprecedented beauty and complexity. It wasn't just gas and dust. This nebula pulsed with a soft ethereal light, like the breath of a sleeping titan. Tendrils of luminous energy, iridescent blues, purples, and greens, wove through darker, particulate clouds, creating patterns that shifted and reformed with hypnotic slowness. But what truly set it apart were the whispers. Even through the Astrae's reinforced hull and the vacuum of space, Elara could feel in them. Not as sound waves vibrating her eardrums, but as a subtle pressure, a delicate current against her consciousness. It was like standing on a precipice, feeling the immense air currents of a canyon. But instead of air, it was pure thought, or perhaps pure potential. It was the universe speaking, not in words, but in resonance. Readings. Elara breathed, her eyes wide, tracing the intricate patterns on the main view screen. Highly anomalous, Elara, Astra reported, her synthetic voice tinged with an almost human perplexity. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. Not strictly electromagnetic, nor purely gravitational. A complex interplay of exotic particles, zero-point energy fluctuations, and harmonic resonances. It's as if the entire nebula is a single, vast, living organism, constantly vibrating. A living organism, Elara mused, a shiver of wonder tracing down her spine. The Veil of Whispers. It makes sense now. What about the whispers themselves? My sensors detect modulated energy patterns, coherent and structured, but no discernible language or data encoding that aligns with known protocols. They appear to be intrinsic to the veil structure, a natural phenomenon, but one of immense complexity. The Astrea drifted slowly, cautiously, towards the nearest edge of the veil. The closer they got, the more intense the whispers became, not louder, but deeper, more pervasive. Elara closed her eyes for a moment, letting the subtle pressure wash over her. It felt like a million tiny currents, not pushing, but gently nudging, inviting. It was beautiful, but also profoundly alien. There was a sense of immense age, of secrets held for eons. Astra, prepare a localized shield envelope. We'll need to enter. The fragment must be deep within this symphony. Caution advised, Elara. The energy fluctuations are increasing. There's a risk of structural integrity compromise, and sensor distortion is already significant. I understand, Astra. But we can't find the song by staying outside. Let's try to find a stable entry point. Navigating the veil was like sailing through a dream. The Astrea moved with painstaking slowness. Elara at the helm, her hands light on the controls. The luminous tendrils of energy here were thicker, forming intricate, labyrinthine passages. Some sections were brilliant, glowing with an inner light that painted the ship's interior in shifting hues. Others were darker, filled with opaque particulate clouds that muffled the whispers, only for them to surge back with renewed intensity on the other side. The whispers themselves were a constant companion. They weren't intrusive, more like a collective sigh, a gentle, omnipresent hum that seemed to resonate with the very atoms of the ship. Elara found herself unconsciously adjusting her breathing, her heartbeat, trying to fall into sync with the veil's rhythm. It was calming in a strange way, yet also disorienting. Her usual navigation tools were largely useless. GPS satellites didn't exist here, and stellar cartography was obscured. The Astraea's advanced sensors struggled, providing only fragmented data. Spatial distortions are significant, Elara, Astra warned. Our internal chronometer is showing minor desynchronization with universal time. Suggest recalibrating every cycle. Understood. Use the energy patterns of the veil itself as a reference point for navigation, Astra. Try to map the most coherent harmonic pathways. Elara was relying more and more on intuition, on the subtle shift in the whispers, on a feeling that pulled her in certain directions. It was a navigation style she hadn't known she possessed, a primal sense of direction guided by something beyond logic. She spent days, or what felt like days, drifting deeper into the veil. Time seemed to lose its meaning here. The ship's internal clock was the only thing anchoring her to a linear progression. She ate, slept, and worked, but the boundaries between these activities blurred. Her dreams, when she had them, were filled with swirling colors and the ceaseless silent chorus of the veil. One day, as she was making a particularly difficult maneuver through a dense cloud of shimmering dust, a new pattern emerged in the whispers. It was subtle at first, a slight variation in the omnipresent hum, like a single instrument tuning itself within an orchestra. It resonated not just in her mind, but physically, a faint vibration in the floor beneath her feet, in the controls under her hands. Astra, do you detect that? Elara asked, her voice hushed. Affirmative, Elara. A localized increase in the harmonic resonance patterns. It's distinct from the general veil ambient. Source appears to be approximately 200 kilometers ahead, centered within that dense crystalline formation. Elara's heart quickened. Crystalline formation. Just like the previous fragment, in the shimmering forest. There was a connection, a recurring theme. She steered the Astraea towards the formation. As they approached, the crystalline structures became clearer, emerging from the swirling mist. They weren't spires like before, but immense, floating geodes, some as large as small moons, others mere kilometers across. They pulsed with an inner light, casting kaleidoscopic reflections onto the surrounding nebula. And from the largest of these, the whispers emanated with undeniable clarity, weaving a complex, intricate pattern. This is it, Elara whispered, awestruck. The next fragment. The Astraea eased into a cavernous opening in the largest geode. The entrance was lined with smaller bioluminescent crystals that glowed with a soft, inviting light. Inside, the space opened up into a vast chamber, far larger than the geode had appeared from the outside. The walls were a mosaic of naturally occurring crystals, each facet refracting the incoming light into a symphony of colors. And in the very center of the chamber, suspended in mid-air by some unseen force, was the fragment. It wasn't a forest, nor was it a physical object in the traditional sense. It was a sphere of pure shimmering light, about 10 meters in diameter, radiating an intense, yet gentle, energy. Within the sphere, patterns of light swirled and danced, forming intricate fractals that shifted and reformed with impossible grace. This was the source of the focused whispers, Elara realized. The light itself was singing. As the Astraea drew closer, the sphere of light seemed to acknowledge their presence. The swirling patterns within it intensified, and the whispers grew in clarity. They were no longer just a hum. They were distinct, overlapping frequencies, each one a unique melody, yet all harmonizing perfectly. Elara felt them deep within her, a sensation akin to memory, to understanding. It was like hearing a language she had always known but never consciously spoken. She left the pilot's couch and moved to the observation deck, standing before the vast viewport, her hands pressed against the cool transparent steel. The sphere of light pulsed, and with each pulse, a new wave of information, of pure, unadulterated knowledge, washed over her. It wasn't data she could process with her ship's computers. It was an intuitive understanding, a direct communion. This fragment of the song was about information, about the interconnectedness of all knowledge, the way every thought, every event, every particle in the universe contributed to a grand, evolving narrative. It wasn't just a collection of facts, but the story of those facts, the relationships between them, the underlying currents that guided their flow. It was the universe's library, its living history, condensed into a single, luminous sphere. Elara closed her eyes, letting the whispers flow into her. She saw, felt, understood things she couldn't articulate. The silent song of the shimmering forest had been about the harmony of life, the interconnectedness of living things. This was broader, encompassing everything, animate and inanimate, the grand tapestry of causality and consequence. She felt a profound sense of belonging, of being a tiny, yet integral, part of something unimaginably vast. Astra, ever vigilant, chimed in, her voice softer than usual. Elara, the ship's energy readings are fluctuating in resonance with the sphere. I am detecting a subtle but significant cognitive imprint on your bio readings. Are you all right? Elara opened her eyes, a soft smile gracing her lips. More than all right, Astra. I'm learning. I'm remembering. She looked at the sphere, then back at Astra's data display. Can you record this resonance? Not just the energy, but the harmonic patterns, the specific frequencies. Attempting to, Elara. The data volume is immense, and the patterns are incredibly complex, but I am establishing a stable capture sequence. It is beautiful. Astra's synthesized voice held a note of something akin to awe. As Astra recorded the fragment's essence, Elara remained transfixed, letting the waves of understanding wash over her. She knew, with certainty, that each fragment of the song was a key, unlocking not just a piece of the universe's mystery, but also a piece of herself. The previous fragment had awakened her intuition. This one was expanding her awareness, connecting her to a deeper well of universal knowledge. The process lasted for what felt like hours, or perhaps mere moments. When the connection began to subtly recede, the whispers softening, the light within the sphere dimming slightly, Elara felt a gentle shift. She was still herself but profoundly changed. She carried a new resonance within her, a deeper understanding of the universe's ceaseless conversation. Capture complete, Elara, Astra announced, her voice returning to its usual steady tone. The data package is substantial. Analysis will require significant processing time. Understood, Astra. Let's get out of here. But before we go, log a new destination. Elara brought up the ancient star charts, the cryptic hints. With the new understanding bestowed by the Veil of Whispers, a subtle pattern, previously invisible, now shimmered into focus. A distant star system, shrouded in dark matter, known only as the Echoing Canyons. Coordinates locked, Elara. Calculating optimal jump trajectory. Are you ready for the next leg of our journey? Elara looked one last time at the luminous sphere, feeling its silent farewell. She nodded, a newfound determination gleaming in her eyes. Ready, Astra. The song is calling. And I'm listening. The Astraea turned, slowly exiting the crystalline geodo, leaving the silent, whispering library behind. As it emerged from the Veil of Whispers, the nebula's immense, swirling beauty stretched before them, a cosmic masterpiece. Then, with a surge of power, the ship accelerated, once again streaking into the endless tapestry of stars, towards the next fragment of the song, towards the mysterious echoing canyons, and towards whatever unknown wonders and challenges awaited her there. Her adventure was truly just beginning, and she was more ready than ever before. The Stardust whisper sliced through the void, a silver needle threading constellations. Elara, her face pressed against the viewport, watched the Veil of Whispers shrink into a distant, shimmering memory. Beside her, the ship's gentle AI Lumi projected a holographic star chart. Destination: Echoing Canyons. Lumi's voice was a soft melodic hum, like wind chimes in zero gravity. Estimated arrival: 3 cycles. 3 cycles of quiet anticipation. Elara spent them rereading the ancient star scrolls from the Library Nebula, deciphering cryptic notes about cosmic resonance and harmonic frequencies. The Echoing Canyons weren't a vibrant nebula or a bustling space station, but a region whispered about in hushed tones, a graveyard of shattered worlds, sculpted by gravitational tides into colossal, jagged formations that stretched for light years. It was said that the very fabric of space there vibrated with the ghosts of ancient stellar events. As the Stardust whisper approached, the starfield began to shift, losing its even sparkle. Patches of deeper black swallowed entire nebulae, outlining colossal, unseen structures. Then, they were upon it. The echoing canyons were a spectacle of stark, terrifying beauty. Gigantic obsidian-like spires, some the size of small moons, jutted out from an unseen floor, forming labyrinthine corridors and vast, silent chasms. The walls of these canyons weren't smooth. They were intricate tapestries of crystalline formations, some glowing with faint internal light, others absorbing all light, creating pockets of absolute darkness. Between these giants, thin, shimmering tendrils of dark matter pulsed like forgotten veins, twisting and coiling. Sensors indicate extreme sonic anomalies, Lumi reported. A slight tremor in her vocalizations. Residual energy signatures from a supernova chain reaction eons ago. The very rock here sings with the memory of destruction and rebirth. Elara felt it too. Not just through the ship's vibrations, but in her bones. A low, resonant thrumming that seemed to bypass her ears and settle deep in her chest. This was a place of primal forces, a cosmic instrument crafted by the universe itself. "Where's the fragment, Lumi?" she whispered, her voice feeling too small in the face of such grandeur. Lumi projected a shimmering overlay onto the viewport. "The scrolls suggest the fragment is not a physical object, Elara. It is a specific harmonic frequency, a lost chord that resonates only with the true song. The canyons themselves are the instrument. We must find the correct note to awaken it." Elara's eyes widened. "So we have to play the canyons?" "Precisely," Lumi confirmed. "The scrolls speak of the listener, one who can hear the silent song of the cosmos and respond in kind." Navigating the canyons was a delicate dance. Elara piloted the Stardust Whisper through narrow passages where the crystalline spires scraped against the ship's energy shields, the air, or lack thereof, alive with strange, almost ultrasonic whispers. Lumi deployed miniature sonic probes, tiny drones that darted ahead, emitting precise frequency bursts. Each burst would echo back, painting a complex sonic map of the canyons. They spent what felt like an eternity, an age measured in the patient hum of the ship and the endless variations of sound. They tried low, rumbling frequencies that shook the Stardust Whisper to its core, and high, piercing tones that made Elara's teeth ache. Each time the canyons responded with a cacophony of echoes, some mournful, some aggressive, some simply fading into silence. None felt right. Frustration began to prickle at Elara. "What if we're missing something, Lumi? What if it's not just a frequency?" "The scrolls mention a heart song," Lumi mused. "Perhaps it requires more than just mechanical precision. Perhaps it requires empathy." Empathy. Elara leaned back in her pilot's chair, closing her eyes. She thought of the veil of whispers, the quiet hum of ancient knowledge, the feeling of connection to all those who had sought wisdom before her. She thought of the vast, silent beauty of space, the incredible dance of stars, the quiet wonder of existence. She focused on the low thrumming she felt in her chest, the residual echo of the canyons. It wasn't just noise, it was a story. "Lumi," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Direct the sonic emitters, not to just play a frequency, but to listen, to amplify the canyon's own song, however faint. And then, I will try to join it." Lumi hesitated for a moment, then complied. The Stardust Whisper settled into a particularly wide, cathedral-like chasm. The emitters, usually focused outwards, now turned inwards, amplifying the subtle vibrations of the canyon walls. A low, guttural groan filled the chasm, then a high, keening wail, followed by a series of sharp, percussive clicks. It was the raw, unedited voice of the canyons, the cosmic symphony of chaos and creation. Elara took a deep breath. She reached for the ship's central console, her fingers hovering over a crystal interface. She didn't input a frequency. Instead, she closed her eyes again, letting the raw sound wash over her. She thought of the warmth of a sun on her skin, the gentle rhythm of a beating heart, the comfort of a lullaby. She poured all her wonder, all her empathy, all her innate connection to the universe into her touch. And then, she sang. It wasn't a loud song, or even a practiced one. It was a simple, wordless melody, a hum that started deep within her, a tune her mother used to sing, a universal note of comfort and belonging. She hummed it, feeling the vibrations travel from her throat, through the console, and out into the canyon through the ship's emitters. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chaotic symphony of the canyon seemed to pause, to listen. And then, slowly, impossibly, it began to respond. The low groan softened, becoming a deep, resonant bass note. The keening wail transformed into a shimmering, ethereal harmony. The sharp clicks became a delicate, rhythmic pulse. The crystalline formations on the canyon walls began to glow, not just with their faint internal light, but with a vibrant, pulsating spectrum of colors, blues, greens, purples, golds, dancing in time with the emerging melody. The sound swelled, filling the chasm, filling the ship, filling Alara's very being. It was a melody unlike anything she had ever heard, ancient yet new, powerful yet gentle, a symphony of all that was, is, and ever would be. It was the song Fragment. It wasn't just sound. It was light, it was feeling, it was an overwhelming sense of connection. Alara felt a rush of memories, not just her own, but echoes of cosmic history. She saw stars being born in glorious bursts of light, planets forming from swirling dust, life taking root in primordial oceans. She felt the joy of discovery, the sorrow of loss, the eternal cycle of creation and destruction, all woven into this magnificent vibrating chord. Lumi's projection flickered, absorbing the resonant energy. Fragment acquired, Alara. The heart song is woven into the ship's core. It feels different from the first. More alive. Alara opened her eyes, tears of wonder pricking at their corners. The canyon still glowed, still hummed, but the intense, focused melody had softened, leaving behind a lingering sense of peace. She had not just found the fragment, she had helped Aga create it, coaxing it from the heart of the universe. "What now, Lumi?" she whispered, her voice hoarse with emotion. "Where does this lead?" Lumi projected a new star chart. This time, there wasn't a specific destination, no distant nebula or canyon. Instead, a shimmering golden nexus appeared at the very center of the map, pulsating gently. It wasn't a place, but a concept. The scrolls indicated that the fragments are not merely pieces to be collected, Alara, Lumi explained, her voice now filled with a newfound reverence. They are keys. Each fragment, once awakened, unlocks a deeper understanding of the song. This second fragment, the heart song, reveals that the complete song is not found out there in a single location, but woven into the fabric of everything. It is the underlying harmony of existence, waiting to be perceived. Alara gazed at the golden nexus. "So, the final piece. It's not somewhere specific?" "No," Lumi confirmed. "It is everywhere. It is the realization that the universe itself is the grand symphony, and we are all notes within its composition. Your journey was not to find a song, Alara, but to learn to curate it, to feel it, and to contribute your own unique melody to its eternal chorus." A profound sense of understanding settled over Alara. The adventure wasn't about reaching a destination, but about the journey itself. The learning, the feeling, the connection. The song wasn't a secret to be uncovered, but a universal truth to be embraced. The Stardust whisper drifted slowly out of the echoing canyons, leaving behind the shimmering, silent majesty. Alara didn't feel the urge to speed towards another distant star. She simply sat, watching the cosmos unfold before her, no longer just seeing stars, but feeling their silent hum, hearing the gentle whispers of distant galaxies, recognizing the intricate dance of creation in every glimmer of light. The two fragments, the wisdom of the veil and the empathy of the canyons, resonated within the Stardust whisper, and more importantly, within Alara herself. She closed her eyes, and in the quiet hum of the ship, she could almost hear it, the complete song. It wasn't a loud crashing crescendo, but a gentle, all-encompassing harmony. A celestial lullaby that wrapped around her, making her feel safe, cherished, and utterly at home in the vast, beautiful universe. Her adventure was truly just beginning, not in the search for external fragments, but in the infinite discovery of the song within and around her, a melody she would carry always. And as the Stardust whisper continued its serene journey through the endless tapestry of stars, Ilara drifted into a peaceful sleep, cradled by the universe's most beautiful, silent song.